Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Raynday Gaming. My name is Raynday and today we are going to take a look at Imani, the brand new champion to be released in Paladins soon in the latest patch. It is super exciting to talk about the impact that Imani is going to have into the game, and so today is going to be detailing every single thing that I know about Imani, why she's valuable, why I think she might be the best released champion ever in Paladins, and also detailing every aspect of her kit that you want to know. Apologize for any noise, guys. Again, I am at home, I am having Thanksgiving, I have family over, but I'm still grinding to get these videos out for you. So as you take a listen to the voice, remember to understand that everything is works in progress, everything is subject to change. So despite this is what it is now, after having some hands-on time with Imani, things could change, and especially considering your feedback and thoughts early on to the process. The design team does a good job of putting out champions that I think we all enjoy, whether they end up being a little strong, a little weak, whatever it is. I think we all really value the concepts that they bring to the table, so that's what I'm going to be reiterating here today. So let's take a look at Imani. She is a damage champion, a spellcaster. That's right, you are getting another damage into Paladins. That's a really exciting thing for us Paladins fans. We love damage champions, and honestly they make the biggest kind of waves, I think, in the meta. They have this extremely valuable component to them, which is that they change the way that you can get kills, and kills result in obviously control, and control results in winning the game. And so that's why damage champions are really cool, and Imani brings a level of control that most damage champions can only hope, can only dream about with her two stances. She obviously is working for the Pyre, as you can imagine. A lot of the champions that have been released lately and looking directly towards Dredge have been relative towards the Abyss. We have the Paladins, and we have the Resistance, we have the Magistrate. We have those two kind of dichotomies of maybe the good guys, or maybe the good guys who not everybody sees their way, but obviously they are right in some ways, and maybe, you know, just kind of looked at as villains because sometimes humans need a villain. And then we have the Pyre and the Abyss, the things that Ceres and Furia fight for opposite sides for, and Imani is a part of the Fire, and that is why she is going to be wielding fire. She is a spellcaster, she's a mage type character, and you can tell that when Hi-Rez Martini describes her, she is extremely fun and takes advantage of the magic of the Pyre like not a lot of champions can. Breaking down her first ability, as you guys can obviously guess with some of the footage that you see here, she has a stance switch. The stance switch is going to give her, with Q, the ability to switch between two stances of fire and ice. Fire in its basic core is going to be a stance that allows you for more damage, more burst ability, and a little bit more just like, hey, here is the damage output, like feel my fire. That is basically what it's going to be. In essence, that is the style of the Fire. And secondly, when you look at the idea of Frost, like most people think, it's a little bit more about control. Frost in nature is very slowing, it's very crippling, right? You create these hazards that people have a difficult time being normal operating in, and so that's what ice will be about for Imani. It'll be about control, a little bit less damage, but obviously setting things up for yourself and your teammates, and some really big AoE CC that I think is going to be dramatically impactful for this game. Breaking down her Fire left mouse button is going to be a basically 1000 damage burst right now, as we have seen in the footage of just Flame. It is not a direct AoE, so it's not going to be able to it's not like an AoE splash, so it's not like a Drogo's rocket where it can hit the ground and then still hit you, or a Willow AoE. You have to directly hit your champion, but if you do hit them, you're going to do 1000 damage. It is a very big deal that this is 1000, because that is what everything scales off of. You talk about Bulldozer, whatever, but you really talk about Wrecker, and that is where 1000 is going to be the base damage that's scaling off of the 75, 150, 225%, and that means everything. Damage champions who have had that high of base damage in this game that have been in this meta, Lin. Nobody else can really reconcile with that amount of damage, so Imani is going to be bringing the heat most literally with her left mouse button. There is also a right mouse button that is essentially a Kamehameha with fire, and that is something that you're going to want to pay attention to. This is going to be used with her movement skill in some dope ways, and also be really good setup with her right mouse button for her Frost stance. Pay attention to that. It's going to be some really sick combos. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we get closer to Imani's release. Talk about the combos and the things you need to be prepared to be able to dominate as you get into the battlefield. Again, guys, if you are enjoying this video, please remember to like and just let me know what you think about Imani as I continue to talk about the skills, because I love hearing your feedback, and I'm sure it's good to just get out in the community. The more they know, I mean, the more potentially could change, or, you know, get better, right? I mean, all those good things as well. Talking about her left mouse button, when you press the Q for her Frost stance, unlike unlike the 1000 damage, you're going to see get a 700 damage type ability, and that's going to be a frost kind of cold snap that's going to basically sacrifice some damage for the ability to control with a slow. Now, I love the concept around this because it's going to mean great players understand how to manage their skills and how to manage their stance switching, because you don't always need the slow. Sometimes you do want the burst. You need the extra 300 damage to finish off a kill, but sometimes the slow is going to be better because your teammate has something they want to set up, or you need to make sure that you don't round a corner. It's going to be the decision making that makes a great Imani, and hopefully these numbers stay relatively viable so that they're not, you know, sacrificing too much for the slow and the slow just becomes irrelevant. I like 700 as a number. I think that's relatively reasonable for base damage attacks. It does have a charge up as well to be able to do that, but it is still effective. Now, the big AoE burst, the root on her right click for her frost stance, is going to be a huge ball you throw up into the air. It's got a really big arc, and it's going to be something you get used to. Very much like Dredge when you're playing Scuttle. Like, Scuttle has a different fall off curve in gravity than Dredge's normal projectile. So if you use a projectile, then you use Scuttle for the reload, you're going to have to do something different to be able to hit it in the same place. You have to aim higher for the Scuttle reload. And that's exactly what's going to be the case when you look at Imani's frost ball, or whatever it's called. Huge AoE that explodes on detonation or when it lands or hits a target and will root all enemies in place. It is a huge AoE root. That is so sick, and it reminds me of On Her vibes, guys. And the reason I say On Her and why Imani may be the best release in Paladins history, why she may be the best champion to come out in this game, is going to be something I talk about in just a few moments, but my goodness gracious. I love On Her and Smite. I think he has everything that you want out of a champion for Paladins, for Smite, for a hero, for Smite, God for Smite, and I think that you can bring that into Imani and take a look at how fantastic that she's going to be and giving you opportunities to always get out of a situation. And if you didn't, know that it was your fault. Know that you had the tools available, but it was just your fault. You didn't perform that day. So moving on to obviously her F. Her Silver Surfer glide, her Frozone from The Incredibles. It's everything that we love. The iconic slide on the ice snowboard style movement skill, and it is so cool because of two different reasons. One, it's a new movement skill, and it's got some vertical mobility, thank God. You will not travel very high. It's got a little bit of a limiter on how high you can travel. You can't just go up, right? You can't go straight up, but you will be able to stay high and maintain that and go a little bit higher. You'll be able to go from one relatively high range to a little bit, like, you know, if you're looking where I'm watching right now or something like that, a little bit higher than that, maybe heading to the top of the balcony. But it's not something that you control like a Willow Fae flight. You're going to be able to use this, toggle it on and off, and then stance switch at the mid-air moment. Before you fall, you can switch with Q into your fire stance and use your little right-click Kamehameha to do 1,000 damage, or however much damage. It's not 1,000, it's more than that, and pierce all of your targets. That damage from the fire lance, the fire flame, whatever they're calling it, is essentially just a big AoE kind of like laser. And that laser pierces targets, does not go through shields, does not go through player walls, but what it or walls from the map. But what it does do, like I said, is pierce all opponents. So if you somehow set them up with a root and hit multiple people in a row, or maybe you throw some cold frost and then switch into your fire stance and go into your right click for your laser, your fire laser, then you are in a beautiful position to do some serious damage on the multiple people and really maximize your efficiency on the objective. That is something that I think is really valuable from Imani, and I hope you guys are seeing the value in that initially. Let me know what you think about that one. I think it's going to be super strong, and it's honestly about 75% of the health of a Fernando. That's a big deal. That is a big deal. So it's gonna be hurting. You do not want to get hit by that. The most important thing, though, as we take a look at that, despite all the cool Kamehameha moments you may be able to have, because despite all the cool things with her kit, is the fact that you do have a cool passive on your weapon. And let me just explain that real quick before we get into the ultimate. When you charge up your weapon, you have a meter, very much like Fury, to where when you get that meter full, you get a good thing. When you get that meter full for Fury, you get faster attack speed up to, I believe, like 33%. When you charge that on Imani, you get a free cast. Normally, all of Imani's basic attacks, you have to charge up, and then you can basically let go. Once you get that meter full after charging and hitting your shots, does not apply on shields, but does apply onto weapon. Actually, I think it does apply on shields, to be honest. It either applies on shields or applies on deployables. It applies on one of those, and then you're able to build up that, and then eventually once it's full, you get a free auto cast. So you can kind of like charge up, hit somebody, when that thing gets full, boom, again, and send another 1,000 damage projectile. So essentially 2,000 burst in a second, or 1,400 burst, but 2 slowing shots in a second as well. Super cool identity and dynamic to that. The other aspect that I think is incredible to talk about is the fact that Imani's ultimate, she turns into a dragon. game. Now, what do we know about this dragon? We really know that it is essentially an AoE kind of spell that allows Imani to take control of this dragon and fly around the map and basically use fire breath as the dragon with a huge health pool. And obviously those numbers are to be determined, but think of something that's not easy to destroy. Think of something like twice the tank's health, like 7,000, 8,000 health. Think of something like that, because I think that's what they're aiming for, at least initially, to where it's not easy to kill and it can do damage to you. You have to deal with it, and if you don't, Imani's just going to terrorize your backline. The implications of this are huge. You can zone out targets. You can create space after you obviously win the objective fight and make sure that they do not come back to be able to touch the point, dismounting everybody and not sacrificing any of your 5 members. That is a huge aspect to Imani. It's essentially a 6th character that you can have on the battlefield, and that is going to be huge. Despite that, it's not going to count as a player-made object, at least now, or as a player or as a champion, so you can't go and tag overtime. If you're not there, you can't send the dragon away to go and die, buy time, and then retick overtime for the objective. So that's something interesting to note. We'll see if that changes, and I'll keep you guys posted on that as well. But the dragon is set to be a huge aspect of this and bring so much hype to the game. Now, getting into why I think Imani is the best release, and we'll maybe have a bigger video about this or another video covering Imani in the future. You guys let me know what you think in the comment section below. I think she brings not only this incredible kit of utility, but control, which makes players feel powerful, and it also makes them feel like they're responsible for their lives or their deaths, because you had the option to root, you had the option to get away, you had the option to turn into a dragon, for crying out loud, but you still didn't get the kill, and so you can't really be mad at somebody else. But I also just think the power and the lore that they're providing with the epicness of just making you a dragon is something that we haven't really seen in a lot of hero shooter games, and it needs to be shouted out. It needs to be say, well done Hi-Rez, well done design team, because you guys did something truly remarkable, and it honestly looks like it's shaping up to be the best release that I have seen in Paladins in a long time, maybe potentially ever. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, because I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. I know it is Thanksgiving, and I know that you guys have plenty to do, but at least share your thoughts and show some love. By the way, at the end of this, merch has dropped. KRB is now in the building. I'll be doing a video on it maybe Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, talking about what the merchandise is, why it means, why it's so important, and why 10% of it is going to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. But for now, my family's going crazy. This video needs to end, and you all need to go have some Thanksgiving and enjoy your time with your families. As always, my friends, remember to never give up, never stop gaming, and I'll see you all next time.